والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى قيام يوم الدين. تقبل الله inshallah. May Allah accept your fasting and your prayers. One of the biggest benefits in Shahr Ramadan and one of the opportunities that we have, and there's many opportunities for us to reconnect to God, for us to strengthen our willpower, for example. One of them is to understand the Quran. And when the Holy Quran itself describes Shahr Ramadan, it describes it as with this description that it is the month that the Quran has been descended. So this is the month of Quran, even though many of us, we usually when you talk about Shahr Ramadan, we think of the fasting part, which is important. There's many different areas of Shahr Ramadan for us to focus. Thank you so much. So last year we talked about from the beginning, from Surah Al-Hamd, we covered that last year. Then we went from the short surahs of the Quran, and now we're going to Surah At-Takathur. And we'll talk about this very important surah. Now, maybe for the children and those who are parents, one of the good ways for you to help your children learn surahs is to start with the short surahs and start backwards. This is how some of the teachers, for example, the Hafiz teachers, they start. If you start with Surah Al-Baqarah from the beginning, they'll be memorizing that maybe for the rest of their lives, because it's a long chapter, for example. But if you start backwards, and you start with Surah Al-Nas, for example, then Surah Al-Falaq, and one of the key important parts with your kids and yourselves is that when you learn a surah, don't forget it. Have them review it. Those who are Hufadh or Hafidh of the Quran, they memorize the entire Quran. They have to every few days or every day, they have to review the Quran or else they'll forget it. They themselves say remembering the Quran, reviewing the Holy Quran is harder than memorizing in the first place. So if you do want the Quran to be an intricate part of your children's life, start with the Surah Al-Nas, Falaq, and then keep going to Surah Al-Tawheed, and then review once a week or whatever, or if you have teachers, review with them. And then after a while, you see, for example, they know 10 surahs, then they know 20 surahs, 30, but that review is important. Now, as parents, or as grandparents, or as uncles, or aunts, when you talk to your kids about the Quran, it's important for us to know what these words are, because the last surah, sometimes there's vocabulary in there that might not, for example, we might not know the definition. So it's important for us as parents or teachers to also know these short surahs. And they're beautiful. So tonight, we're going to go over one surah, which is Surah Al-Takathur. This surah, which when you look at the Holy Quran, it is, I'll give you the number of it. This is number 102 of the Holy Quran. It had it here, it just blocked the actual number for some reason. 102. This surah, what is the revelation? Because there's a story behind each revelation. There's asbab al-nuzul. Why was the surah revealed? Sometimes we do know exactly why. Sometimes we don't know, for example, because it was erased from history. For example, the Imams know. This, they say, takathur, which is more, you can translate this way, as a competition of wealth, of kathra, trying to get more and more and more. This is one way to understand what takathur means. Some say, for example, and maybe in children or in other blessings that Allah has given us, physical blessings, that there is a competition between people, between the Arabs. There's a competition between who had more wealth, who was more rich. Very interesting that also today we do see this competition. One of the reasons, and I was looking at some of the surveys about millennials, for example, about people who are growing up and are influenced by social media, especially the young, is that when they see these scenes, for example, wealth, and everyone who does something like it goes to a nice vacation, has a nice house, has a nice car, with 4K or 8K or whatever, they upload it, for example. Obviously, they leave the parts that are not relevant, to their trip, all the nasty parts, whatever, they delete those things. They only show the good parts, so you look at, wow, what a nice vacation they're going on. You don't see the crowds, for example. You don't see, the negative parts of their trip. And then this goes to the mind of the youth, and they say, wow, I want to go there, which is good. I need to be rich to go there. I want to have this car. I need to have this plane. I need to have this house. So today you see again how Quran is so relevant to our lives that don't think, oh, this surah is only for, the pagans of 1400 years ago in Mecca. Some of the majority say it's the Meccan surah, or some say it's Medina. That they were competing with wealth. I have this many camels, I have this much trade, for example. This is my property. Today, you see the same thing. And that is why one of our great teachers like Shaykh Mutahari mentions that the instructions of Islam that you say are everlasting. Some say, well, these instructions that you have for Islam is only for the Arabs 1400 years ago. He says, why is it that the halal of Prophet Muhammad is halal to the Day of Judgment? Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Because our needs will be the same. Our general needs are the same until the Day of Judgment. As long as humans live, they will be greedy. They will try to show off. They will try to boast about things they have. This is a natural inclination of humans. So therefore, the Quran is addressing us. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Al-Hakumut Takathur talks about this takathur. And today, as we said, it's very relevant because of social media, in beautifying, these images and these possessions in such a way as instead of me going after masjid and dua and knowledge, I go to these distractions. And that's why this verse comes with Al-Hakumut Takathur. Al-Hakum comes from lahu, comes from to distract. You have lahav, we say in Farsi, for example, lahav. Al-Hakumut Takathur. The possessions, this race of materialism causes you distraction. It causes you to be occupied. And we knew, we talk about Shahr Ramadan, a time of refinement, a time of change. I want you yourselves. I can't, I don't know I know about myself, I don't know about you personally, but I want you to be a judge of yourself and see, have you been distracted with worldly possessions? With sometimes it says about some of the surveys that people will sometimes overspend just to fit in. Just to say, I'm at this class, for example. They come in, for example, a very nice watch with, a lot of other rich people. How did you afford that? It's on the credit card, I can barely afford my rent, but I have this very nice watch so I can fit in. So there's this, competition about takathur, so to make sure that they don't think of me in a bad status. Or sometimes with brand new cars. One of the easiest ways to waste money and your money to go is after, you turn it on, how much of your money you lose with a brand new car. Not that it's bad to get a brand new car, it's good. But how much if you cannot afford that compared to, say, a used car, for example. One that maybe you might have to go to more service and go to other places. But I just want to fit in. I want to get, something that's higher than my level, just so people can respect me because of my status. So what does this cause? Quran says, Al-Hakumut Takathur. That this takathur and this race is causing you to be distracted. Because were we created just to get these things, or are these tools for us? Now, some people ask this important question. These are people in our community. They're saying, Sayyid, then you're telling me that we should never gain wealth, that money is bad. We should just come to masjid day and night and forget about wealth. Is this true when we look at this verse, for example, Al-Hakumut Takathur, that we shouldn't own anything, we shouldn't have new cars, we shouldn't have new homes? Or is this saying something else? And this is the message that we understand. Hatta zurtumul maqabir means until you visit the graves. It means that don't allow, for my limited knowledge, Don't allow your wealth to be a distraction for you. Allow your wealth to be something that takes you towards Allah. Allow your ni'mah to be a true ni'mah and blessing. Don't allow your ni'amat and your blessings to be a niqmah, to be something that takes you away from God. If you use financial power as an economic tool to relieve the pain of the suffering, to help the masajid out, to help your brothers and sisters throughout the entire world out, that's a great ni'mah. That's a great blessing. Actually, that's not al-hakum. That didn't cause you lahu, to forget God. That caused you to remember God. But if you allow that takathur, that race that we see today, who owns the most, who has the most, and to boast about it, to show off about it, then that ni'mah turns into niqmah. So it's up to us. I'm not saying do not work hard. Actually, the traditions at the time and time I've shared from Imam Baqir alayhi salam mentions how it's bad to be lazy. And he mentions that that lazy person for the dunya is even more lazy for the akhirah. He's aksal, he has more kasal for the akhirah. Why? Because if there's something, blessings in front of him, and he's too lazy to go and grab it and get a job and get some money and help him, his family, if he's not going to do that, pick what's in front of him, then how is he going to plan for something that he cannot see for the hereafter? So it's good for us to attain wealth. It's good for us to be financial capable. These are things that we need to protect the Imam of the age. These are duties that we have. But what is bad? That I use this as a way to show off. I use this as a way to say, I'm a valuable person now. Hey, I have the best car in the masjid. I have the most expensive. I need my own parking space. Get out of my parking space with your, for example, used car that barely turns on. Get out of the way. I need my special place. So if that is changing you, that you're being valued by what you own, then that is something that is negative. And this is, I think, a timeless lesson of the Holy Quran, that takathur and racing to get money and showing off is a great distraction for us. Let's go to the other verses. So we said that lahu, this al-hakum, lahu comes from that same idea that a person is distracted. Actually, let me give you a story about what's going on about this, takathur and why it's bad. We have in history one of the greats, Ali ibn Mahziyar al-Ahwazi. Now there's two, not the narrator who is the uncle. This is another Ali ibn Mahziyar al-Ahwazi, who was a great individual who, during the beginning, around the time of when the occultation just started, the greater occultation, Ghaibat al-Kubra started, he had a idea, he had a niyat. And he says that I want to visit Imam al-Zaman. I want to see my Imam. And I'm sure many of you, this is one of the most beautiful things that Allah can give you, is to see the Imam of the age. We know that he is living in this earth, for sure. We know that, he lives and breathes like us. And as we have many times, we will see him, but we don't know who he is. We know that many people did see him, and there are books about this, about those scholars or those pious people that did visit him during the time of occultation. So we know it is possible. So if this person said, I know the best place to meet Imam al-Zaman, where do you think that is? We're somewhere from the traditions that the Imam is once a year, in Hajj. So he says, I'm going to go to Hajj 1 year to see the Imam of the age. This Ali ibn Mahziyar al-Ahwazi went 1 year. He didn't see the Imam, looking and looking. He says, it's okay. Next year I'll go to see the Imam. Second year he went. Third year he went. Fourth year he went. Fifth year he went. Sixth. If it was me and you, brother and sister, okay. First year I didn't see him, okay, I don't qualify, that's it. Let me go get some more money, for example, help my business out. My employees or my people that I'm working with, they're saying, why does he take so many vacations? That's enough, for example. After 19 years of doing this, Ali ibn Mahziyar, 19 years of trying to go Hajj, and because the narration says, Tamamul Hajj is with meeting Imam al-Zaman. The Tamam of the Hajj is with meeting the Imam of the age. The 19th year, he finally said, maybe this time I'm not going to go. But he had a dream, or there's some, inspiration or some message that said to go this year. He says, okay, I'm going to try again. This is the 20th time, 20 years he was in search of Imam Mahdi. He goes and he's waiting for a sign. He's there in front of the Kaaba. There he sees somebody that he thinks possibly might be connected to the Imam, maybe as one of his agents. And he speaks to them, and this person speaks, and he says to him, مَا الَّذِي تُرِيد يَا أَبَا الْحَسَنِ. This story is in actually our books of hadith, this story that I'm saying right now. What do you need, Abba al-Hasan? This is his name. Or kunya. قُلْتُ الْإِمَامِ الْمَحْجُوبِ عَنِ الْعَالَمِ. I am looking for the Imam who is mahjub. What does mahjub come? Comes from hijab. The Imam who's covered. The Imam who's hidden from the world. I'm looking for the Imam who's covered. He says to him, this agent of the Imam, مَا هُوَ مَحْجُوبٌ عَنْكُمْ. He is not hidden from you. He is not hidden from you. وَلَكِنْ حَجَبَهُ سُوءَ أَعْمَالِكُمْ. Actually, you are covered. You have been hidden. What has caused you to be hidden from the Imam? Your bad actions. Our a'mal hides the Imam from us, not the Imam is. The Imam is here. So after a while, he goes and he follows this person. He was agent of the Imam. It says he went to a tent and he kept following him. And this agent finally says, wait here, let me get permission for you to enter. And some of the things also mentioned that he went to this wadi, this area, where he wanted to tie up his camel. And he told them that there's no need to tie your camel. Nobody's going to steal anything here. And this is where the Imam of the age is. No one's going to steal your shoes. No one's going to steal your camel, for example. Just go. So he's waiting and waiting and waiting for the Imam to give permission. Can I go and visit the Imam? And he gets the green light. When he enters the camp and he sees the Imam of the age, Ali ibn Mahdi al-Ahwazi, here it says that the tradition has, فَقَال, he sees the Imam, he comes kissing his hands and feet. He begins, imagine yourselves if you saw Imam al-Zaman, how you would behave, kiss his hands and feet. And he said to him, Ya Abba al-Hasan, in the narration, قَدْ كُنَّا نَتَوَقَّعُكَ لَيْلًا وَنَهَارًا. I was waiting for you, we were waiting for you day and night. He was 20 years looking for Imam al-Zaman, but the Imam says, I was looking for you day and night. Where were you? فَمَا الَّذِي أَبْتَأَ بِكَ عَلَيْنَا. Why were you late? After 20 years, where were you? Why were you late? And he says, قُلْتُ يَا سَيِّدِي, my master, لَمْ أَجِدْ مَنْ يَدُلُّنِي إِلَى الْآن. I didn't have anyone that was a dalil, a guide for me until now. Nobody showed me. But what is the Imam saying? He's saying something else. He says this, no. ثُمَّ قَالَ لَا, not, I don't mean this. I'm meaning this. وَلَكِنَّكُمْ كَثَرْتُمُ الْأَمْوَالِ. But you were busy with gathering money. You were busy with the dunya. That's what I mean. Where were you? Because finally now you qualify to meet me. But before you were too busy gathering the money. وَتَجَبَّرْتُمْ عَلَى دُعَفَاءِ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ. And because you guys, you were mistreating the believers. And 3, وَقَطَعْتُمُ الرَّحِمَ الَّذِي بَيْنَكُمْ. And you had severed your ties with your family. 3 things in this tradition, that Ali ibn Mahdi al-Ahwazi was a barrier between him and Imam al-Zaman. 1 was gathering money, just to gather it. We said, if that's a tool, like Imam Ali alayhi salam, he used wealth as a tool, and he had a vast income every year of thousands of gold coins because of the agriculture, because of the farms he had. That is the life of Imam Ali. When it came to income, he was not a zahid when it came to income. When he was spending, he was a zahid and ascetic when it came to spending. But not gathering money. He would get the money and then he'd give it to the fuqara. So therefore, gathering money, we said, al-haakumu takathur, is one of the ways that distracts you. What do you get distracted from? God. We get distracted from Imam al-Zaman. Sometimes people think this, that if I commit sin, immediately maybe my hand's going to get chopped off, or I'm going to get into a car accident, I'm going to get really sick. It doesn't work that way. One of the first things and one of the worst things that happens to us is that God takes from us lizzat munajat. I can't even enjoy praying to God anymore. My eyes become dry. I don't even feel like masjid. I don't even feel like prayer. If I do prayer, I just want to get it over with. Because these are signs of a heart that's full of rust, a heart that's full of materialism. But if I have taqwa, and if this Shahr Ramadan, I'm careful of myself, those distractions go away, and I focus on Allah. I focus on Imam Azan. Brothers and sisters, we know right now, we are in a very unique situation. A situation that we haven't faced, ourselves at all. These are unprecedented times. When you look at this surah, and you look at these stories, you have to take advantage and allow these circumstances to affect you in a positive way. You have to allow these great ulama and scholars who were shaheed and killed. You have to be benefiting from their life, from their stories, from what happened to them. You have to be benefiting from this threat that the Muslims are being bombed and being starved throughout the entire world from the time of Gaza to now. If I am, again, one of those who I'm just gathering money and going to work and having my normal job, then I will be distracted from everything else that's going around the world. But if I am careful, and if I have a heart that is not full of rust, if I have a soft heart, I will take these occurrences and I'll start to become like all those people who are resisting evil, who are standing up for the truth. And I start to become a student of them. I start to become like them. And what does that lead me to? Imam al-Zaman. This Shahr Ramadan, our tawassul and our tawakkul has to be more to Imam al-Zaman. This Shahr Ramadan, we have to pray more. Because our dua is needed more. We need to be more serious. So take a little bit time away from your normal jobs and focus more, and remember that your prayers are weapons. Your prayers are tools, and it really has an influence. Is that your hope should be with the Imam of the age, and not allow takathur in the world, and your positions, and the house you have, the home you have, the car you have, all this allow you to be a barrier between you and doing what is right. It's about thinking about things. So that is one lesson from this. Let's continue, and inshallah we'll conclude the surah. Please recite a salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa Jafar. The surah continues so far. We said only 2 verses. Again, you can look at, if you have a Quran on your phone, again, surah 102. This is verse 2. There's only 8 verses. I didn't choose Surah Baqarah, don't be scared. This is a very short surah, Takathur. The only thing abundant about it is that kithra, that people are getting a lot of things that they're gaining. Kalla, then Quran says, Hatta zortumul maqabir. You're going to be gaining and you're going to be boasting and competing until what happens? Until you visit the graves. Where are you going to put all that money? We're going to put all that wealth. We're going to hide your USB flash full of crypto, for example, in the grave. The crypto does not even go in the grave, even though it's something that's very advanced. They still didn't figure out a way to send it to the akhirat yet. The encryption doesn't work that way. The blockchain doesn't work that way. But anyways, until you visit the grave, hatta zurtumul maqabir. At the end, what do we take with ourselves? Our a'mal, our good action, that kindness, that friendliness, that smile, that helping that mustadaf, that weak person, that you'll take to the grave. Then the Quran says, Kalla sawfa ta'lamun. Soon, no. Then no. Some say, Kalla in Quran is more of a very firm way to say no way, for example. It's not like this. Kalla, no way. You are going to know. Kalla sawfa ta'lamun. Quran then repeats, Thumma kalla sawfa ta'lamun. Then you'll know with certainty. So there's 2 ways to look at this. Either we know in this world, or we know in this grave, for example, in the grave. But no matter what, soon we will know. Soon we will know the truth of the hereafter. Soon we'll know this was a world of illusion, dar al-ghurur. Soon we'll know that we're created here only for taqarrub and to know Allah. and to get close to Him. Then the Quran talks about a few stages of knowledge. كلا لو تعلمون علم اليقين لترون الجحيم ثم لترونها عين اليقين. Then Quran says in verse 5, 6, 7 or 4, 5, 6 that no, if only you knew with knowledge of certainty, you will surely see the hellfire. Then you will see surely it with the eye of certainty. Here the ulama talks about different stages of yaqeen. Yaqeen in certainty means to know for sure. It means to know. 3 stages of this, according to this, that they interpret here. One is that you know, it's called ilmul yaqeen. You're sure. Example of this, of ilmul yaqeen, is smoke. When you see smoke, you know there's fire, for example. You don't have to see the fire, but when you see smoke, it is dalalat that there's fire here, for example. That's ilmul yaqeen, you know, knowledge of certainty. Then you have aynul yaqeen, which is vision of certainty, that you directly see the fire. You see it with your own eyes. The third is haqqul yaqeen, which is entering the fire and feeling its heat. And these are stages for us that when we reach certainty, there are some who know, for example, the hellfire exists. 2, there are those who see the hellfire in this world. And 3rd, there are those who are being affected by it, for example. They can even feel its heat. So in that munasabah, they talked about this, that soon you will see how la tarawunna al-jaheen. Either you will see it with our eyes, or you can do shuhud and witness it in this world, for example. Then the last verse is this, ثُمَّ لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. Soon, لَتُسْأَلُنَّ يَوْمَئِذٍ عَنِ النَّعِيمِ. Soon, on the Day of Judgment, you'll be questioned about the blessings. And this blessings is what? Soon we'll be asked about our blessings. Blessings are na'im, means anything. Health, for example, wealth, good family, good neighbors, for example. All these are na'im. And Allah gives us ni'mah to spend in His way. We'll be asked about it. In one of the traditions from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam, he says, na'im is us Ahlul Bayt. Because when you look at it, how can na'im be Ahlul Bayt? Benefits, or for example, favors be Ahlul Bayt? Because the highest benefit is spiritual or religious benefit. Is benefit that shows you the path. Maybe if you think of it, some of the best teachers, the best favors was one person when you were young, gave you some advice, showed you the way. And then from then on, your life changed, right? That is one of the best favors. So Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam, according to this tradition, is na'im. It means that one of the greatest, even though everything else, physical favors, monetary favors, health, peace, calm, all these are favors. But the highest favor that we have is the Imam of the age. Imam al-Zaman, that Allah has given us Imam, that for sure we know this Imam will always be protected. That this Imam will be victorious. That this Imam, the righteous, will inherit the world. That this Imam will do something that no other prophet did. What will Imam al-Zaman do that no prophet did? He will gather the entire world and they'll call Allah and He'll occupy and be in control of the entire world. Earth will be His. Even Prophet Sulaiman, even Prophet Dawood, they didn't control earth. Even those who are the most evil, they never controlled 100% of earth. Sometimes you have empires that control a third, maybe even like half of the world. But nobody ever controlled 100%. So therefore, one of the greatest favors that Allah has given us, and at this time, I think that one of the things that we need to make sure that we are benefiting from is Imam al-Zaman. It's connecting to the Imam, saying that I know that during these tough times, this bombardment, this oppression, I know that many of us are feeling down. I know that many of us are feeling sad. Many of us are agitated about what is going on. But remember, Mahdaviyat, this na'im, you'll be asked about the na'im, the biggest ni'mah that Imam Sadiq alayhi salam says we have is us Ahlul Bayt. That Imam al-Zaman will watch over you. Imam al-Zaman will take care of you. Rely on him. Continue what you're doing, the goodness you're doing. Continue fighting against oppression. But our hope is not in the weapons that we have. Our hope is not in the material things we have. Our hope is in Imam al-Zaman, and the only thing that we try to do is we don't want to be humiliated. We don't want to be in a way that we haven't fulfilled our duties to the Imam. Then we say Imam al-Zaman, I can say that I have worked day and night for you. I have not forgotten you. So therefore, this verse ends with this na'im, and then you'll be asked about the na'im. And therefore, you understand those who recite this verse, when the tradition says that the benefits is they won't be asked about the na'im. If you do Surah Al-Takathur, recite it, every verse has thawab. You know, one of them is, if you read Surah Al-Takathur, is that you will not be asked about, in the Day of Judgment, about the blessings of Allah. Of course, for those who read it, understand it, and act upon it. For them, they will not be asked in the tradition about na'im. May Allah expedite, inshallah, the Imam of the age, inshallah. May Allah have rahmah and mercy upon our ulama, inshallah. May Allah allow us to learn from their lessons and to become like them and continue their path, inshallah. May Allah protect our maraja, inshallah. May Allah expedite the return of Imam al-Zaman, cure all of those sick, protect all of those who are oppressed, inshallah. Remove poverty from the lands. The salawat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa jafarju.